Hello, everyone. My name is Benita G, and welcome to the Education Concierge Podcast. Today, I'm flying solo for a deep dive into the future of education. Where are we going? Okay, so we're stepping into a conversation that challenges everyone, you, me, they, them, over there in the back, in the front, to think beyond traditional models and consider how the evolution of education, the workforce development, and emerging technology will shape the 22nd century. The 21st century, we're in that. We are moving into the 22nd century, and as educators, it is our job to no longer be behind the eight ball. It is our job now to be looking forward. We should be forecasting what is to come. So as we look ahead, we must ask, what will learning look like? How will innovation reshape classrooms? And most importantly, how can we prepare the next generations for industries that don't even exist yet? So those of you who started teaching with me back in the days, we had chalkboards. We know that there are jobs in 2025 that would never have thought about being in existence. Content creator. We were just getting used to a microwave, a VCR, and two-way on our house phones. Great cell phones that you could call after 6 p.m. so that you weren't charged extra. Now we are preparing the next generation for industries we know don't even exist yet. Let's get into it. So, the death of traditional education is happening now. The way the education system was intended, the way it was designed back during the industrial era, was to create people for the workforce. It was structured, it was rigid, and it focused on rote memorization. And we all know what that is. Okay. We don't like it, but it worked for what we needed it to work for. But we've already seen that model is breaking down. It's broken. It's the foolishness of education that we continue to use that old decrepit model. We must move forward. And the reason we know is because during the pandemic, this accelerated the push for alternative, innovative, creative, thought-provoking, critical thinking education. And now we sit at this crossroads. Maybe at the well, that's not it. Two roads merged and divergent. We're here, okay? By the time we hit the 22nd century, brick and mortar schools may be a thing of the past. Matter of fact, they are going to be the exception rather than the norm. Think about that. So instead, we'll likely see a rise, and we already see it in hybrid schools, micro schools, AI-powered personalization learning, and global competency-based education models. This shift is already happening when we have different ed tech companies like Khan Academy's AI Tutor. We have different ed tech apps that we can use to incorporate education technology in our classroom with the understanding of ChatGPT and Gemini running all through pre-K through college and the workplace. It's time for us to embrace this asynchronous, self-paced learning. So here's my prediction. Listen carefully. Future schools will be fluid. That's right. They will be customized to each learner's needs. And what we already like to say a lot of times is that everyone would need an ILP, an individualized learning plan. Everyone. Because in this, you're going to design around real world applications rather than some standardized test or some test at all. It will be different. We are shifting and changing the model for our clientele, but also for the global society that we are living in and moving in. Now, let's talk about the next part. The role of the workforce development and the changing job force. We're still catching up to the reality that the degrees don't guarantee jobs. And we need to hurry up and let that go. You hold a degree, and it doesn't necessarily mean you will get a job or that you will have job security for certain jobs. Okay, we still need the dentist to go to dental school. I still need my doctor to go to medical school. But we're understanding now that you don't always need a 4-year degree. 4-year degree, you don't need a degree from a 4-year college or institution. Community colleges are acceptable. Workplace certificates are acceptable. We are understanding how this is changing in the 20th century for the workforce. and it will demand lifelong adaptability. So companies are already prioritizing. So we need the pre-K through 12 and then the higher ed to start prioritizing with us. You need to prioritize skills over degrees, and that trend is only growing. Imagine a world where an AI powered career concierge, oh, wait, they trying to cut from magic, guides individuals through real time upskilling, where blockchain credentials replace traditional diplomas. We already see that happening. Google certificates, LinkedIn classes, classes online. Takes me 6 weeks instead of 4 years. Okay. So we see that happening. We need to get behind it. We need to understand it. This is going to continually evolve based on demand because the emerging workforce trends are going to be skill based hiring. Employees are seeking practical competencies rather than this formal type of education. And we're going to have to understand that we are going to have to collaborate with AI, but AI would not replace the human side of things. While automation will replace some jobs, and it has over the years, AI will also create roles we haven't yet imagined. So AI will also help create new jobs that are human centered. The rise of automation means that we as humans have to be better creators with our creativity, better with our critical thinking, and have better emotional intelligence. That will be the premium skills. Now, here's the challenge for us educators. We will have to plan, process, and proceed as we prepare students to navigate the uncertainty, but equip them with the agility to pivot careers. And not just once, they will have to know how to pivot careers multiple times in their lives. I even knew coming in the 90s that I was not going to be a teacher like my mother, aunts, uncles, godparents, cousins, staying at the same school for 20 or 30 years and then retire. I knew that. My lifestyle and my loyalty didn't permit it. I was a military spouse. We moved every 2.5 to 3 years. And then my loyalty was to teaching and working in underprivileged, underrepresented schools to help turn them around. And no one needs to be in a school more than 2 to 3 years to help turn it around. You didn't turn it around in 2 to 3 years. Thank you. I need you to move on and do something else somewhere else. So my loyalty and my lifestyle didn't permit me. It just wasn't going to allow it. The students that we have now, Generation X, Generation Z, Millennials, Generation Alpha, Generation A, I think that's what they already understand that. Job hopping is not some type of insecure thing they do. They understand that I want a profession. I may want to change professions. I want to get paid. I want more money. I am going to have multiple career changes in my lifetime. The segment that I really want us to focus on is this one, that tech will power education. I'm going to say it again. Tech is going to push and power education. Okay. The real game changer for education right now is technology. In the 22nd century, education won't be tied to physical spaces. We won't have to actually go into a brick and mortar school anymore. Why? Because instead, we'll see XR, which is extended reality classrooms, AI powered holographic teachers, immersive VR field trips, and augmented reality projects. We already do some of that now. I've already taken my students on a VR reality field trip using a computer, allowing them to use their own computers, going to museums that we can't get to that are in other countries or in other cities and states. We already have holographic teachers. I want to be around and tell my students all the time, I still want to be in education when it starts looking like Iron Man or the Avengers, or it starts looking like Black Panther, where I just fling something in the air and the screen pops up and I can talk to you and pull things out and you can see the 3D displayed in front of you, but it's really not in front of you. I'm excited about that. And that is what is going to drive education. Imagine students, and they already do this. I know there were several HBCUs that are doing this. Imagine students dissecting a virtual cadaver or exploring the pyramids of Egypt without leaving their homes, their classroom, their pods, the library, the park, wherever they're meeting. Neural learning interface. Now, this one is still a little iffy for me because I am one of those teachers that would always say, if I could just open your brain up and plop this information down in there, and then you do what you want to do with it, I would appreciate it. But that's what neural learning interfaces is. It's brain computers. Interfaces will allow for direct knowledge transfer that accelerates the skills of the students. Neither here nor there about that. You take it as it is. We're learning today. Something we can't fully comprehend yet, but we do know that it is on the way because technology is driving education. Decentralized learning systems. So when we have blockchain and decentralized networks, students will be able to create their own learning journeys, earning credentials from various institutions worldwide without ever stepping foot into traditional brick and mortar school building. And we also know that we have that already happening. Education is driving, technology is driving innovative education. And we are changing the way education looks for the 22nd century because we have to prepare these students for jobs that don't even exist yet. So we cannot be behind the 8 ball. We have to forecast, we have to be able to predict, and we have to be able to prepare them. The last part that I think is essential also is the role of the educators and parents, guardians, and their adults. If education is shifting so radically, the parents and educators have to figure out where we fit in. Teachers will become the learning architects or guides. We're no longer just the content providers. We are the curators of experiences, and we're guiding students through their personalized learning, project-based activities. And the parents will become the co-educators, like it's really meant to be with us. The parents, the guardians, their adults. With homeschooling, micro schools, online learning, which is already happening. And they're going to play a bigger role in helping guide and direct with the child, the educator, and the parent this educational ecosystem and this educational journey. The challenge is we have to accept and navigate this new model. That means that we'll have to have parent training and teacher training that prepares us for this new tech integrated, adaptable learning environment that no longer focuses on the standard or traditional classrooms. Come on, y'all. Let's go. Here we go. My final thoughts in this. We have to prepare for the shift. It's already happening. As we move toward the 22nd century, we are not worried about politics or your religion. We are concerned about the education of students to become global citizens. If it isn't education and you're not prepared for the change, how are you to embrace that? You will be left behind. We do not want that. So what can we do now so that you become embracing it? First mentality, schools and companies have to work together. What's that thing called? Collaboration. They have to collaborate to build a curriculum that teaches adaptability, creativity, critical thinking, and emotional intelligence. Then, with the collaboration, we're going to leverage technology for equity. I cannot tell you anymore how the digital divide is real. And if we do not start working hard to close the divide, it will continue to widen. We risk deepening the education gap rather than closing it. Students know how to use phones. They do not know how to use computers and laptops. 60% of Americans still do not have Wi-Fi access at their primary dwelling. So we have to rethink how we're going to close the digital divide. We have to rethink credentials. We have to move away from this one size or two size fits all traditional diplomas. And we have to move to a flexible, competency based systems. We now have, moving into the 22nd century, the opportunity to build the education system that truly prepares our students for the future to be global citizens. But this is what we have to do. We cannot be punks about this. We cannot be scared. We must be bold enough to unlearn the old ways. We must be bold enough to unlearn the old ways and innovative enough to move towards something greater. Okay, y'all, that's it for today. I think that's enough. I think that's a lot. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Education Concierge. If this conversation has sparked any thoughts, any comments, any dialogue, don't hesitate to leave a rating, leave a review, connect with me on social media, the EDU Concierge. I'm on Blue Sky. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, Benita C. Gordon. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Facebook. I'm on all the places. I'm not on Twitter or X. Leave a comment. This is how you can help. We need you to go to both of our podcasts. Subscribe, support, rate, good ratings, good reviews. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. That is how you help us. Buy me a coffee. Go to the Patreon. All of those things. And then I want you to think about this. What should be our vision for the next 10 years, 25 years, 50 years? What is the vision for education in the next 100 years? Don't forget, hit me up. And until next time, stay curious, stay innovative, and as always, keep pushing for a better future in education. My name is Benita G, and this has been a solo episode of the Education Concierge Podcast. I'll see y'all later.